themselves, whereas TSM was playing from a point of advantage for most of the match.
Definitely kind of re-emphasizes that it's not all offense. There is a big, strong element of defense that you have to have in not only your single play with Hanser versus Huni, but also in the team play. And Immortals were a little bit too far out at a couple of points. Here we go, though. Shen not going to be on the board this time around for TSM.
And there's both of those junglers we see up top. So the Gragas, as Jat said before, probably seeing that. Definitely going to come into this game, too. What will be the final bans on this one? The Sivir still left up, and the Ashe proves useful quite a lot for either double lift or wild turtle here. So I'm surprised that see that left up as well.
Yeah, TSM waiting a while on this final ban. It's going to be essentially just... I think they were the ones that banned Talia in game 1 as well. It was just on the red side. And this, I feel like, will force Immortals' hands into a Sivir ban because of how much Immortals respects that champion, since the Rek'Sai is already banned away and they can't necessarily trade back for it.
I wish I could read lips. I
Oh,
cannot.
that's
Oh, it's
really
a bard! I thought it didn't look like he said Sivir.
I'm really curious to see if TSM first picks it now. Basically blind into whatever Wild Turtle and Adrian want to lane against it, but it's such a power pick for Immortals.
You give up 2 big picks, though, for taking that Sivir as well. Is it something you decide to come in and say, hey, it's open, do we formulate a team around it? And they say, no, we don't, actually. Not right away, at least. Not right away. So they go for the Hecarim now, leaving that up. We'll see what Immortals answers with. They have the chance to get that Sivir and whatever they want.
Yeah. I think at this point you have to take away the Sivir on the backswing here. Immortals aren't massing over like they think that they do, though. Hecarim is just such a good partner with Sivir. Malzahar is going to be what they first pick up. Definitely don't disagree with that because Malzahar is so strong in this stage of the game. Mentioning champions that are strong on this patch, though, Jat, Sona is extremely strong on this patch as well.
Ban last game.
We do have to note that last week it was the non-hotfix version of Sona, so this is slightly weaker than it was in the week prior, but it's still, in my opinion, insane on this patch. And this is defying expectations a little bit for me because of the bans in the first game versus the priority of the picks in this game. But it definitely does set up Immortals for potentially a very strong laning phase. Another one of those games where TSM will kind of have to engage onto Immortals if they want to win the sustained battles. And also Immortals controls Malzahar once again and is almost daring TSM to play the Zillion once again.
Also, have to keep it in the back of your mind that Hecarim could possibly be a flex pick. You know, this could very well be a solo lane Hecarim. You definitely would expect that more from the likes of Immortals and Huni, but it is on the board. Man, so many power picks back to TSM after the Malzahar Sona lineup.
As well as possibly another flex in that Karma as well.
Yeah, it's actually really crazy to me because I was expecting some of those to be first picked, and stuff like a Sivir Karma has so commonly just been picked right away by the red team. Just Sivir Karma, super non-committal, you have a bunch of move speed, it's a strong lane, but TSM actually gets it on this side of the draft, which to me is extremely surprising.
It's also just a super strong lane in itself, like very dynamic here from the TSM side. See what they round it out with, because Immortals are saving the counter pick for Huni. Gnar, okay, so maybe this is going to be the Aurelia from Huni then. If he wants to take it into that matchup.
Prioritizing that chrono shift as well as the speed up for this team. Got to go fast on the side of TSM in that engage. What's it going to be? Could see an Aurelia coming out from Huni. Strong pick for him. Immortals is going to take their time on this one. Knowing things got a bit aggressive last time, we got to expect it. They said, calm down. We go in and play our game again. TSM controlled a lot of the objectives here, and with the speed of this comp, they'll be able to get to those very fast once again this game.
Yeah, TSM will definitely have a lot of move speed to create an incredibly threatening Hecarim, but Immortals will also have a lot more initiation ability in this game. Last game, they had a lot of range damage that could kind of push TSM around. Here, they have really cold, hard initiation. And
yeah.
Huni's Tom Kench. We'll see.
So yeah, while Immortals do have, you know, a lot of engage with Ashe and Sona follow-up and Malzahar and Gragas as well to disrupt things, speed can also be used not just to buff up Hecarim, but to disengage as well. So as we saw in the last game, these teams were pretty hesitant to fully commit to fights. And maybe in the early stages, we'll probably see that again. And TSM definitely have the options of, with Zillion, Sivir, and Karma all on the same team, to go incredibly fast.
Yeah, it's a speed team, and I don't necessarily see where the Tom Kench comes in to be a Gnar counter. The draft, to me, is a little bit perplexing from Immortals. Like, they definitely have some power picks. I think their bottom lane is actually going to be super strong, the amount of poke that the Sona and the Ashe have. But just seeing Huni on Tom Kench is really weird, because even when he plays tank champions, he kind of puts a damage flavor to it.
Yeah.
I don't see Trinity Force Tom Kench.
You build health on Tom Kench and you get damage.
Yeah, pretty much.
We'll see. We've seen Huni do quite a lot. Maybe he goes outside his boundary this time. Show us something different as we get into game 2. Immortals is going to have to punch back even harder this time. They were able to do it the first times these teams met up and bring it to a game 3. That's what we want to see here today for the match of the week. Immortals versus TSM, and TSM are looking at game point, new comps, same map. Beautiful action coming at us in just a few seconds, and it's going to be just as good. TSM now on the blue side, Immortals on the red. We're on the Rift, and we're into game 2.
Also have to point out that if TSM win this game, they lock down the #1 seed in the regular season, guaranteed. Which means they will have side choice in the majority of games for every matchup in the playoffs, and will always play against the lowest available seed, because the playoffs is dynamically reseeded every round.
That is going to be scary for some teams. We were talking about the gap of Immortals and TSM to the rest, so.
The respect.
Nice.
Don't be the first to mess it up and land the auto.
Wasn't that that's the face Huni made when P1 actually took the game
The junglers are kind of sneaking up on him a little
over
bit.
TSM.
Oh, man.
The BM. Just keep them there hypnotized while you dance in front of them.
That's a trick that moves
Who
one.
needs the Hypno Toad? Honestly, though, if we return to the Tom Kench, one of the biggest thing, actually, to me, with the recent changes that they made to him, where, they moved the scaling a little bit earlier there on the passive health damage, but the ultimate goes so much quicker. And I like Tom Kench's ability to make cross-map plays and make surprise plays now, because he can bring someone really quickly. Him and Rainover are the duo you always talk about with Immortals. I would like to see Huni come up with some, flank plays with Tom Kench or something, surprise ultimates with the River King.
Very true. That is probably the thing that Huni would try and get out of that. It will be really hard, though, for a Tom Kench and a Gragas to do the type of burst necessary to go through a zillion Karma and all the spell shields TSM can throw at them. So I understand the intent, but it's going to require some really precise execution for that to work.
Standard lanes.
Oh, baby.
We're going to see what we get out of this. So Adrian's still favoring sustain. Obviously going to help them get a little bit of back and forth in this, but I'm excited to see what they put against each other, because Doublelift always wants this with Biofrost.
I'm sure the bottom lane stream that is going on in LCS 2 is very happy to see these guys matching up against each other.
Hell, I'm very happy. We also get to track these junglers, as Svenskerin's going with a pretty interesting route on Hecarim. He started on blue rather than Gromp to get it as quickly as possible, and getting very, very fast double buffs here. Malzahar's not pushed up, though. He's not a gank opportunity. Neither is the bottom lane. So it would only be the possibility of getting vision for your mid lane, or vision for a counter gank for him. As of right now, Hecarim would be very happy just to continue to farm here in the early stages. On Hecarim, you never want to waste blue buff duration. So now he can go back to Gromp, kill that, and then go over to the Wolves to respawn. Okay, Crab first, then Gromp, then Wolves.
Yeah, he's just trying to loop as best as possible, right? Because if he actually stays out long enough, there's a chance he could continue to farm throughout the rest of the jungle, and especially if Rainover isn't ganking him, it's beneficial. But with these standard lanes, the early pressure bar that Rainover could potentially give could be massive.
It's risky against a jungler like Gragas, who is a playmaker. So that means you have to have confidence in your lanes to survive with their flashes. If everybody knows that they don't have jungle support and you're going to be farming, they can blow their flashes very quickly on an enemy gank and not sustain damage in the lane either. At that point, as a jungler, okay, now I'll go spend my money, I'll buy your wards, I'll come with the pink, and give you a side to rely on.
I really have to credit the TSM lane right now, because they were a full 7 CS up on the Ashe and the Sona this early in the game.
This is why I was saying, like, oh, this is such a strong lane here with the Sivir Karma. You get wave control so easily with Sivir, and then Karma can free poke with constant spamming of mantra Qs. Here goes Rainover's first attempt, but it is over a ward.
Flash for flash.
That's
That
what I
means-
say.
yeah,
Burn
that
those
means-
things early.
Yep, Rainover will still have his flash if he goes to make a return gank. And yeah, the wave control down bottom from TSM is huge. And they can only be more bold now because they've seen Rainover in the top side of the map.
Play is going to push Adrian out of the bottom as well. Looks good for Double Lift and Biofrost now, but at level 6 is going to be
Oh
quite
my
volatile.
goodness.
Pobelter flashes, everything's down, along with Pobelter. First blood.
Completely baited right there.
Yeah.
Pobelter, that was abnormal for him, actually, to go for something like that.
We just saw Bjergsen actually taking a lot of damage from Pobelter. He was actually accepting those spells, so maybe pulled him into that false sense of security.
They made it way too easy. Bjergsen
Yeah.
won the CS war a little bit in game 1. He was winning it by a bit more here in game 2. And like, it didn't look like there was kill threat. Rainover was nowhere close. Like, that was a greedy trade play by Pobelter. And he gets punished for it because Bjergsen was very well communicating with Svenskeren and just, he made that gank easy for him.
And a thought where you can maybe get Bjergsen's teleport, it costs you your own life. Both summoners down for Pobelter now, so he's got to play even more scared against double bombs from Bjergsen. And we see Adrian getting back to lane. Looks like he actually stayed in that previous back. So
That
they
was
could
just-
try to catch up on CS down there.
Yeah, man, that was a very big mistake from Pobelter because not only did he lose the first blood money for the team, but there was a big wave pushing into the turret. Now he's going to be behind on experience as well as gold to Bjergsen. And while Zillion's not the type of mid lane champion that's going to start to completely smash you,
Yeah.
and he just buys catalysts, there's no more advantage for Immortals in mid lane. You can't push them in. Ooh, pretty good chunk there. But yeah, so now Pobelter has to play very safe, having burned both summoners as well.
Yeah, and because of this, like, even though Immortals is the team with the jungler who has more early game presence, they're getting pushed in all lanes, and Rainover hasn't been able to help. And Svenskeren was the one to get the first blood. Like, this is actually a pretty dire situation for Immortals this early on, and I think they're going to have to make some relatively proactive decisions fairly soon to prevent this series from just being a quick 2-0 for TSM.
Definitely a good point to bring up because First Blood on Hecarim feels so good. You get your Trinity Force even like a minute earlier. It's insane. You actually can just take over the whole game.
Rooney's in trouble. He has no flash.
Very nice hop ultimate there.
Oh,
Pretty much
Svenskeren,
throws
take
it back. This was Pobelter going down now to the top lane as they go ring around the Rosie, and it's going to be Rooney that goes down.
Kobe wanted to see the kill handoff to the jungler to just get the Hecarim.
You can already hear him. He's like, I can relate to this.
I think
Early stuff.
I literally have never seen in competitive play the jungler a handoff to the jungler.
It almost looked like they were doing it there, actually.
It was close, but yeah, Hunter, they do want him to have the one-on-one advantage. He already has it over Hooney, and now it's just going to become more difficult for Hooney, even to CS now, because Nara is so oppressive.
Yeah, and both of those ganks actually just came out of over-aggression from Hooney and Pobelter. I really wonder what the carryover effect of the end of that last game has, because Immortals may think that they threw that game at Baron, and that could be tilting them a little bit mentally, because those two solo lane plays are very uncharacteristic for Immortals. They didn't have the proper pressure to punish a jungler gank at the right time. There was no counter ganking going on.
Yep.
Rainover wasn't counter jungling and setting up a dive elsewhere. They were really just unnecessary, unforced errors that TSM was able to capitalize on, and that gives a very early 1,800 goal lead for TSM.
And I feel like that's Immortals kind of following a precedence they set for themselves. They're usually able to win each fight. You look back to tense moments, and Hooney's teleporting into some pretty odd positions. The team has to scramble to get to that. Usually they can win them. Against TSM, those kind of plays fizzle out a little bit.
So Rainover here, by the way, the reason he's doing this, they had...
Oh. Wow. Just out of range.
Well, the reason he's doing this, they were able to assume that Svenskeren went in and took his red quadrant because of the play he just made top. That's the most common next step. This one is going to be over a ward.
Four-man dive.
Doublet's going to have a good spell shield here.
Rainover waddling in, hits Biofrost back. The cast also silences him out. Chrono Shift is on.
Bjergsen got the ult off.
Yep, it's on it. He can get back into the fight, get the monster shield on for the team. That's the Haunter hit, but everybody was hit by the crescendo in the back line. Now they're trying to catch up from Haunter's ultimate, and they are able to capitalize on the kills. When has Double Lift not gotten early kills against Immortals? Roll it back once again, and TSM comes up huge in the bot lane.
That is a tilter, man. The teleport revive from Bjergsen gets in there just in time to save Biofrost. And the huge turnaround there from Haunter as well. Mega at the perfect time, gets the sun, extra kills, end of the Inferno, best snowballing Drake. TSM are out to a huge huge lead in game number 2 of the series, looking to make it a 2-0.
Specifically because it was also Immortals who made the initial investment to make that play and had it backfire. So that was actually the moment where Immortals was hoping to equalize the gold, and it only shoots them farther backwards. Look how low Turtle and Adrian are at the beginning of this gank. I think that's very key. And they go for Biofrost, but watch the timing on this ultimate from Bjergsen. It's instant as soon as he comes in. That allows him to get the stun onto Pobelter afterwards. Haunter then took a forward teleport position, gets a 3-man ultimate with 1-man stun, kills Turtle, and he dies after the flash. Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong in this play for Immortals, but TSM are playing it so well, and now we will get to see if TSM can close out for a quick and decisive victory against a 15-1 Immortals team.
That's a question, right? When you have a lead, are you playing to the level of the team you're playing against, or are you going to continue to push the advantage? Are you going to be able to do better? Because on the international stage, those teams are going to push and do better. They won't just play to the level of the team they're against.
Last game was pretty close and tense at
absolutely.
many moments.
Absolutely.
But this game, even though it's just a single one here, is starting to bring up that question of, oh, you know, we were assuming North American LCS had a tier above all the rest of the teams, and it was Immortals and TSM. TSM looking to shove Immortals off of that pedestal.
Yep.
It'll be quite a statement game before playoffs.
That's exactly what it is. TSM said statement. Immortals said they're trying to get back on that from last year.
This is Double Lift's message that he wanted to send. Rainover wants to fight back.
A little bit of a message here. Oh, alt after alt. Ping pong on Svenskeren. It looks like he may be able to get out of this one. Nope. In ping pong, there is also tilt. And
Here
that
comes
may
the
happen to
reinforcements.
Svenskeren here. He's going to be all right, though. TSM gets themselves there. That was 3 ult. You can see the ults on cooldown. Svenskeren, Bjergsen, and Double Lift just to save him.
Yeah, but to pull that play off, they had to use Turtle and Rainovers as well. So saving Private Svenskeren success.
Yeah, a little bit of restraint held by them there as well. You saw Pink Ward on the Tribrush when they were thinking about a 3-man dive. Turns out, Rainover was there, and they were able to peel off properly. Can never count Immortals completely out of the game, though. Against so many other teams, they're able to just make play after play and keep the wave pressure going. That's what's so killer about this game, is that TSM has the wave control, so it's that much more difficult for Immortals to set up plays.
Yeah, and that's always a rough thing when Tom Kench or, you know, the likes of Echo or something like that are using their ultimates just to get back to lane quicker, to farm minions so they can get more experience rather than trying to use that ability to create a big play to get back into the game. Mortals are going to try and lick their wounds right now and try and regroup and come up with a plan. It's something that is really, really important mid-game in League of Legends, is not to tilt. I said, you know, that bottom lane play, that's something that could possibly send people off the deep end and become very kind of depressed even. But you have to stay focused in the game and try and regroup. There are so many options. It's only 12 minutes in. And you have to stay positive and look for the openings to try and get back. Yes, it's going to be difficult, but that's what you have to look for.
I see a ward. He also sees a problem now that'll slow Svenskeren. They don't have too good of warding around here, so they're just running in power and numbers, knowing Rainover might have to pop an ult, and he does. So little things always playing in the favor of TSM here. Now Rainover has to wait. The team really wants an engage, and you may just lose a buff for it.
Quite an aggressive move here by Svenskeren, though, but with the dual lane showing of Immortals, it becomes a little bit less risky. Doesn't have smite, but
yeah, it's a super bad feeling as a jungler when the game gets to the point where you have no lane control. You can see why TSM are free to do that. Haunter's shoving Huni in. Mid lane, TSM, Bjergsen was able to shove Pobelter in as well.
They actually want to dive.
So it was free.
That's Rainover over the wall. Chrono shift, so that means Haunter's going to come up nice and fat for this fight. It actually is going to be Huni going down, trading back and forth. Bjergsen gets out. Still quite messy on both sides.
That hits.
So is Pobelter.
Oh, the flash is there. Haunter can still get a quick jump out of this one as he's silenced right off the bat. That's going to be Haunter going down. And they go 1 for 2 in this.
Adrian Chu, he's all the way from base.
I don't know if you have the deets for this, but he's going to hold him in place.
That's the slow. Bjergsen used Chrono shift.
That's why you have to stay focused mid-game. Even when things are going poorly, they are able to make some semblance of a recovery here for Immortals to get a couple of kills, and Turtle trying tower defense here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to do it. The bottom lane second-tier turret is safe, the mid lane turret is safe, and then Immortals walks out of this with 3 kills. The 4,000 gold lead is shaved by about 1,000 right there, and it's not going to bring them back in the game, but it's definitely a start, and the counter to what TSM was trying to do to just basically end the game was right here.
Yeah, coming back into a game like this is a step-by-step process. One step in front of the other. First step here is an overstep, honestly, from TSM.
Yeah.
And they go for the dive. It is pretty risky because they saw Reignover in the area previously. He goes for the great flash slam. That gets out the ultimate from Bjergsen.
Notice how both of Bjergsen's bombs failed to do damage right there. He was trying to zone it between the turret, but the giant Tom Kench model somehow navigated around with Huni controlling it. Reignover had the 3-man stun. Burning the flash there is also something that pushed Hanser upwards towards Pobelter, and then with Adrian coming to the bottom with the flash being down, Bjergsen had no escape.
Enables this one here, comes in to hold him in place. First up the recall. And Reignover's gonna go finish up this dive, as you know. Meanwhile, though, because they spent the time diving for that champion, they weren't able to kill off the turret. So there still is every single outer turret standing for TSM right now. That does mean that if Immortals make another play and they have control of the map, they can, get a lot of global gold to try and come back into this. But Hanser's making quick work of Huni.
Yeah, this is pretty...
Eat him and throw him under the turret.
scary.
Eat him and throw him under the turret. Oh, he loses the hits. The passive is there. He could get taken down here by Turtle as it wears off. Hanser comes back from the dead, and he's sent right back to
That's
the
a bait
fountain
right there.
by
There you go.
Immortals.
Another bait by the Frog. TSM pushing him in, though.
Talk about the baits. Svenskeren very deep as well. Got those turrets heating up, so they got to be careful about the resulting dive.
Teleport from Huni.
Flash forward onto Bjergsen. Chrono Shift is there when he comes out of this. No silence to follow, but I don't know if TSM can put themselves in a dangerous spot to help back Bjergsen here.
Nope.
And TSM is getting all chaotic. Abyssal Voyage coming through, but it's a short one. And TSM looks like they'll be able to make the distance necessary.
Step number 2 here for Immortals. They make it on the top side. Then step number 3 is another aggressive move from TSM, a tower dive. Tower dive after tower dive, punished heavily by Immortals, and they're getting right back in this.
Yes, but also some weird mistakes. Wild Turtle got executed by the top lane turret, while Immortals was actually coming back in this game.
Alrighty.
So that's a thing.
What health is
Definitely a lot. He was just taking damage. I went back and watched it.
You got to confuse them, Jack.
Maybe one day we'll get
Watching
replay of
mid,
that, because
looking
there's
for
a
an
lot
arrow,
of
probably.
really important things that were happening in that fight as well. And aside from that, Immortals is actually coming back in this game. Like,
yes.
the things that TSM needs to do to execute are a little bit too hasty. They're trying to maybe kind of make good on when they didn't snowball their minor advantage from game one, and it's meaning they're pushing slightly too hard.
Yeah, your point about bringing up mistakes is more valid than just the Wild Turtle solo dying to a turret. Also, the entire series of events mid lane from TSM was kind of another misplayed power dive that really cost them, going after very healthy targets, and they were punished. Here we go, is the original bait from Huni, though.
Yeah, so this was super critical. Hanser wanted the shield to run out before stunning, but watch the heal from Wild Turtle right before the Gnar ultimate, so he's able to keep Huni alive. Then Wild Turtle actually stays incredibly close with his flash to get the finish, and then TSM, because there were 3 people top lane, think, okay, let's dive. So they just kind of go all in, but remember, they can't get the CC on a Pobelt because of his passive, so he has to aim for Reignover, and he actually misses.
Yep, Reignover able to body slam and negate the damage from the charge there of Hecarim. And then here, they, again, punish that overextension in the dive under the turret. Because Tom Kench, like we talked about, very quick ultimate. Huni gets there, brings the party. There you go.
Yeah.
There, literally, he wasn't staying to finish off the turret. He was just looking mid lane. Sometimes you get caught up in the action.
Yeah, he wanted to see, he fired an arrow at some point. He's like, I want to help 2 guys. Maybe he hawk-shotted. You could hawk-shot to technically try to cut off a retreat
It
somewhere.
makes sense. You're looking at a fight. Your screen's blinking red. You're in the fight, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I do also kind of want to point out the impact Adrian is having on this game. One of the stronger parts of Sona is actually her ability to move around the map. And Adrian is even doing a little bit more. He put 2 early points into his E, which a lot of times Sona would almost always go Q and W, but he is valuing so much his ability to just make rotations on the map and make sure Immortals is fast. And I actually think it's working.
Trying to keep up with the zillion Sivir karma is a tall task, but trying to lend as much speed as he possibly can.
Pretty crazy, but he's basically just using it on cooldown every time he runs out of base.
I mean, yeah, coming out of base, pretty free.
Yep.
Generate that mana, no problem. All right, let's see. What's the next move here for Immortals? Because now they've been able to close that once large lead that TSM had in the early game. at least as far as the gold is concerned, chopped it back down. So now they're within the range where they can take fights again on even footing.
Yeah.
Yes, TSM still have these Drakes, but the Drakes aren't going to mean a tremendous amount as far as the fights that they do look for. It's much more about the setup here, and TSM are making a strong push, calling Svenskeren up to try and take the turret as well.
Yeah, maybe TSM pushes for another bit of a dive, but the ward covered is actually pretty great for Immortals. I'm incredibly impressed with their composure from within this game, especially with the way Game 1 ended and the way this game began. They were 4,000 gold down with only 40,000 total gold being in the game, like incredibly early. Fighting back to this state is super impressive.
They also have a much, Ashe scales better than Jin will for the super late game if it ends up going there.
Right.
Significant poke on a double lift, but here's Sven!
So Turtle pushes him back in range. They get the tether onto Rainover, and now Turtle. Svenskeren has to take longer time under the turret. Chrono shift onto him, and he doesn't go down. Now it's onto Bjergsen. The DPS of Bjergsen, a double lift, perfectly placed on the back line as the tanks dive, and they come out of that one practically unscathed.
Those zillion dives, man. The revival actually almost timed out on Svenskeren. It was a little bit risky there, but he still had the turret on him. They get the extra kills. They get that top turret that they just called everyone up for. And there's some more gold in the pot. TSM, another strong move, this time on the top side of the map.
Great double TP as well when they were halfway through that dive to really make sure it could stay for the conclusion. Adrian tried to get his Sona ultimate just right, but he was unable to catch the second guy coming through.
See it here again.
Yeah, watch this exactly. Another thing that happened, I believe, is Rainover was unable to stop Svenskeren. He was trying to body slam, but Svenskeren had started his ultimate, so he cannot be disabled. That allows Wild Turtle to get jumped very early. The ultimate is on Svenskeren, which keeps him mostly safe under the turret. No one wants to focus him. Then the double TP comes in. Huni was a little bit too slow to the party, didn't want to teleport in before his other solo laner had gotten there, and TSM opens up another lead.
And Pobelter were trying to do the poor man's teleport of ghosting up to the top lane, but not able to walk up that fast. Definitely costing them. And they lose out their last outer turret now falling here. This is the stage of the game where, as TSM, you start to move up your ward line. Immortals have done a pretty good job of defending their territory with all these extra kills they got due to TSM mistakes in top and middle. But at this point is where TSM need to move as a team to try and get that deep vision and enable them to make those informed decisions.
This is where a lot of the other teams in the league will say TSM takes over, though. That macro, or I should say then. 21 minutes in, they have a little bit of a lead. We see double lift again, most of that towards him. 2 games in a row now. Now a different AD carry, and TSM is going to slowly work these objectives again, try to force the hand of Immortals. It seems to put them in a world of chaos when they're not the ones to be starting these fights and don't have the time to teleport in.
The Wild Turtle's still really far behind, right? Like, that's a QSS and a static shift is completed on double lift, and Wild Turtle still just has the Essence Reaver. Speed! Yeah, so when they think about doing these ganks, like, they're not willing to super commit because they know it's even going to be a close 2v3, but Svenskeren.
All right, Huni could have a cheeky flash here. Let's see how he uses it. The big wall, it's a thick one. Can you make it over?
But if he could, he would still die.
This is true. This is true. He holds it. Knows he's going down.
He thought about, yes, I could, but should I? No, I should not. So he just goes down, accepts his fate, and Immortals rotate their failed gank down bottom up to the mid lane. So even though Immortals, they did show and they tried to gank the super speed lane, they do get a turret for themselves. TSM don't want to let him get away with it, though.
Oh, a little bit of a push on Pobelter. Didn't allow the kill to be locked down. It only takes a little bit longer than expected, and they continue to move. That was Svenskeren all once again on cooldown from him on this hack room so far. Every time he has it.
Also right when the Drake respawns, so TSM now going to get their 3rd unique Drake this game. Infernal, Ocean, Mountain will be the 3 that spawn for this game. And then also trying to push mid at the same time. Really taking a lot of edges.
Rainover separated from the team. Adrian really doesn't have the mana to help too much. He could crescendo, but then they don't have it for a resulting dive. Dragon, players are being lost. And Bjergsen looks like he wishes he could turn back time. But Turtle says, no way.
A little bit of fight left in Immortals for sure. Still 5,000 gold, but not a meaningless pick by any means. Punch of Bjergsen. Nice combo.
Yep.
The Tom spit into the Ash Arrow.
Yep. No chance there.
But you're wondering, what's better than Chompers? Oh, Ash Arrow will do. Yes, that's perfect. So we're 13-7, 24 minutes in. TSM with much more of a lead, controlling this game, 5K in their pocket. And with Bjergsen coming back up, it looks like they'll clear their side of the map before we get back into pushing those wards forward again, as you were saying, Kobe. Immortals is trying to keep that pink ward line up, but you can see it dies quickly, and they're just forced to throw out vision wards everywhere.
Yeah. Right now, Immortals' #1 priority is trying to work on that defensive vision because, once again, they're looking for those mistakes from TSM to get back in it. That's where their steps that we were counting getting back into this game have come from. A couple of extra tower dives. Problem now is that they're losing towers. There are less towers for TSM to dive and make those mistakes on.
Absolutely, and Doublelift is still going to be quite a scaler. It definitely feels like Huni can't split push against Hanser. Hanser's Frozen Mallet build is consistently stronger, so the options for Immortals are really just kind of make plays with Adrian Sona and Wild Turtles Ash, who are both really far behind, so wherever they make plays, they have to have a significant numbers advantage. And with how fast TSM is, you can see why it's difficult. They really have to find almost a lucky pick.
Exactly. That's why people have been prioritizing these speed picks so heavily recently. They're so good, both offensively and defensively. It lets TSM choose, and they've chosen mid lane.
Oh, does it match? Spell immune, pretty hard here. That arrow is going to hit on the back line, but it should be okay for TSM.
What do you want to eat?
That's going to be 1-for-1. It's a draw on Svenskeren, and TSM is much deeper than they want to be. Do they have the goggles on for the dive? Turtle getting hits. Hanser's going hard for priority targets. The team says they cannot follow, and it's getting messy.
Split decision there from TSM. Did I say there are not enough turrets left to dive? Well, there are. Oh, the double bomb.
It's going to be on Adrian. There it is. Takes him down. Bjergsen reassesses the fight, says, yes, we can do this. Turns it back on to Immortals. Huni doesn't take the gate. He goes all the way around for safety. A few attacks, the slow, the bomb, and it's going to be the kill coming in for Bjergsen onto Huni.
All plan. TSM come up with the ace.
Man, with the lead they had coming into that one, Svenskeren goes all the way into the base, and as Immortals thinks they can turn it around,
How do you make it out?
Well, and then the scary point was, TSM, they were still winning the fight after Svenskeren trades 1-for-1 very close there with Pobelter, but then Hanser goes in, the backline of TSM just backed off. So Hanser goes in as Mega, and they could have definitely won that fight, but then, all right, let's take a look from the beginning here, because this is that Sven dive. He's going one way, he's on a mission, he's got a bomb on his head that's gonna explode here, and that's what gets the kill right as he comes out of the stun.
If Huni could have Abyssal Voyaged a fraction of a second earlier, he saves him, and this could be a very different fight. But then here, Doublelift gets such a good ricochet. Hanser sees the play. But yeah, TSM was backing up because of the zoning of Rainover and the potential damage for them. But the double bomb stun as Wild Turtle's low in the back line. Huni can only tank so much.
Rainover walked into that as Adrian picked it up, and when you pick up the bomb, you move over the explosion radius a little bit, and that was on the edge. It also tagged Rainover, so that was a little bit of a mistake there, as Immortals were trying to punish the mistake from TSM to get back into the game, end up making a positional error of their own, and now it continues.
Right back through the batting order, a cleanse to Wild Turtle. He gets his distance from Svenskeren. Chomped up onto the turret. Rainover looking for the back line of the target, but he's the only front line. And look how many TSM members are back in Immortals back line. Svenskeren goes down eventually, and these are drawn out fights, seeming to favor Immortals now.
Well, Doublelift's under the turret!
Ooh, that's gonna sting a little bit. Doublelift goes down as well. A Mikhail's, a cleanse, and a spell shield won't save him. And now we're going up 50 seconds on these timers.
There's so many good things to pick out of these team fights. We'll wait for the replay because they're still on the run now, but Immortals have defended another of these turret dives from TSM.
So many turret dives.
My favorite little thing from this fight is how after the dive, so they go for this kill here, but what's funny is Svenskeren's the one diving, and they want to Zillion ult him because he has a turret on him, but he gets eaten by Huni, and you can't Zillion ult him while he's in the stomach of Huni. So Bjergsen waits around, takes the turret till he comes out, able to get it off there as Hanser Goomba stomps Wild Turtle in the backside, and their front line's gone.
Yeah, but we also have to keep in mind with the Malzahar sitting somewhere between the turret, it's hard for the whole team to dive through. Doublelift went super deep at the end of that fight, and they hadn't actually dealt with the biggest damage dealer in Pobelter. They were successfully killing Wild Turtle, but if they don't get Pobelter as well, the fights can get messy.
Oh, they're messy, all right.
Yeah, TSM goes. They are definitely trying to push the tempo on this one. 32 kills, 28 minutes into this game.
This is crazy. Doublelift has right now a 3,000 gold lead. Almost 4 right now onto Wild Turtle, sitting with 2,400 in his pocket. And you can see how much damage he's doing in these fights as well, able to stay in there with all these cleanses and Mikhail's. That time, a little too close for comfort. I'm sure they'll reposition for the next one, but Immortals is finding ways back into these fights, realizing TSM, they're gonna go hard each time. Immortals may be able to use that to their advantage.
Yeah, and I'm really curious if Immortals is kind of picking this as their moment they need to fight. They're only 6,000 gold down. They have a pretty good item set on Pobelter, but they would need to get a good pick. It looks like TSM's actually looking to trade Baron for the Mountain Drake.
The funniest thing to me is that even though Immortals are so much down in gold, down in Drakes, they have vision control. So they see this Baron opportunity for TSM. They see them walk over there. They know that they're going for this. They can try and delay them while they take this Mountain Drake. TSM, though, they're pretty fast.
Oh,
And they don't want to let the Drake. Here it comes.
Room. It's not gonna be Turtle. They push off Huni.
Get off my
They
Drake.
still have that pink board. Nobody on TSM is
Still an
clear.
Ash Arrow, still a Sona. Oh, we might see a fight here depending on the poke. Or a steal. Nope.
Dragon over to Svenskeren. That's the second for them in the form of Mountain. And they're going to be backing off of this one. Beautifully done. Elder is going to be next as we're at that time of the game. And Immortals, the Dragons have not been going their way. Each time TSM has approached an objective, Immortals either gets pushed off or loses the resulting fight altogether.
Double lift on the Sivir has gotten to the break point of Sivir. The super happy, yes,
Yeah,
3 item
definitely,
completion.
Oh, no.
Oh no, red buff releases. Whereas Turtle is still working towards that point. So Immortals right now are trying to, let Turtle get all the money he can. Right now he's farming that large wave on top. That he needs his Infinity Edge. They need the crit coming through to be able to, stand a chance in these team fights.
He is just impossibly far behind. I mean, I think the other thing that could allow them to go in team fights, we've seen it from Jensen in some games this year, is just if Malzahar gets the perfect storm in a team fight and gets a lot of Void Spawn going as well as some refreshing stuff, it can help. But against this TSM team, it's just much more difficult to let happen because of the Zillion ult.
Yeah, and Double Lift is going to be putting out so much AoE damage on Sivir in the late game team fights that Immortals have to find some way of either zoning him and stopping the damage, CCing him or something, or actually killing him. Because that Sivir left unattended in the late game is just going to chop everyone down.
As well as looking at this pick for Huni, back to the Tom Kench for him. Kind of getting pushed around by Hanser. Usually Huni's the one destroying lanes, being a carry. Well, Tom Kench can always be that nuisance. We've seen him in games, cause a lot of trouble. It's not the Aurelia. It's not what we've seen him on recently. And it looks like not having that power in the top lane could also be hurting Immortals a little bit. Working to bring back 7,000 gold now against TSM in a 20 to 12, 32-minute game. Immortals is obviously respecting the pressure they have right now. It's been under the turrets where they found success so far, so they'll see if that's where it happens again.
And it is so difficult for Mortals to find Wild Turtle Farm right now. Just the move speed that they have to respect from TSM, and the fact that the outer turret, even in the bottom lane, is still up for them. Like, the map pressure just isn't there for Immortals in a way that, it's been for them the entire year. Even in week 2 when they lost to TSM, they were closer than this game as far as overall map control.
Yep.
But a lot of this is still going to be about the cleanness of the initiations. TSM has to make sure not to overdive. They definitely have a bigger lead in this game than they did in game 1, but it can still go away as this game gets later.
Engages become very conditional now
Here
for
they go.
Pobelter and the Ash Arrow with all these cleanses coming out. Svenskeren on the front line. Rainover looking to get that task out. Doesn't do much. They may be able to get Hanser. Chrono Shift goes down. Hanser will be coming back up. And it looks like they keep going for the fight. Hanser throws back. Huni goes down. Now it's going to be on a Wild Turtle. They try to get him. He flashes forward. That's going to be the hit. Wild Turtle's getting the ricochets now. Or double lift, rather, I should say. And it's the triple kill. Going forward in the fight. Can they catch Pobelter? That's going to be the hit. The passive is on. Do they turn around for the kill? Hanser fighting a minion. Almost goes down. Double lift brings up the pentakill.
The most pentakills in LCS history for Double Lift, and also even closer to his 1,000th kill in a climactic moment to potentially 2-0 Immortals.
The fights have been scattered the entire time. Both teams testing each other to the brinks here.
For the heal.
He killed himself!
He
That
killed
was
himself for the heal. The Hexa-kill for Double Lift. They're looking at the Nexus. TSM, only for a moment, were jaded from the first place spot, but they will reclaim that spot on the pedestal and will be that first seed in the North American LCS. TSM take down Immortals.
And in a very hectic game, too. 25 kills to 13. But the impressive parts about this are 2-0. Anytime Immortals would fight back, TSM was not dissuaded, and they kept aggressive the whole way. Tower dive after tower dive. Baron bait at that last fight. And even though it looked a little bit grim, Doublelift flashed forward to start that pentakill chain going, and it was successful.
So much control from the bottom lane of TSM, even from the very beginning of this match. They draft the premier bot lane champions, and they absolutely demolish Immortals.
Fantastically played. Doublelift said coming in, it's a statement to be made. Immortals are trying to right the wrongs of a past, and it looks like they tried very hard in this game, even pushing themselves to places they haven't been in gameplay, very chaotic areas. Both teams were pushed to that brink this game.
Doublelift said before this that this was about sending a message.
Yep.
And that message has been received loud and clear. Heading into playoffs, something like this is one of those things that can even have the possibilities of creating a mental block for a team. If you're looking at how do we take down TSM, there's going to be even more pressure.
Heading into playoffs, TSM is definitively the favorites to take the title.
Absolutely.
Unless they falter, they're expecting to win. Right?
What percent do you give to
What percentage? Yeah. Phoenix won, though. What about those guys? They're 1-1 against them. The only team currently to have taken a game off of TSM.
The gods.
So every team that is currently in line to be in the playoffs, TSM has beaten in best of threes. Haven't lost to a single one.
It's hard because you look at those games, and while there was strategy used, it just came down to pure skill at some points, and that's what teams have been lacking against TSM in the first place. So once you even break that mold that they usually work with around the map, they're still extremely strong in every bit of the game.
Yeah, from front to back in team fights, from all the lanes, from the map pressure, and from the objective control. They took 8 elemental drakes in this series to 0 of Immortals.
Yeah.
I also really like how TSM have been able to deal with, the changes as the game changes, because that's one of the most important things, and that's what's going to be important as we move on towards playoffs, towards international play. Bjergsen was a little unsure as to the 6-14 mid lane changes and Malzahar, and it took them a little bit to get used to it, but he brought out something that they've used in the past, the Zillion, to great effectiveness in a new way.
Yeah, and this game will continue to change. We're going to have some big lane swap changes coming in the next patch for the playoffs. They look pretty happy with standard duo lanes down in that bottom side. Champion pools will change, and it's about their ability to adapt and continue to stay confident, and they have no reason not to be extremely confident.
Absolutely. A split where TSM continues to do well. They've avoided the Reginald phase, and everything's looking up from here, right? So now before TSM gets on with their celebration, let's send it to Zyrene for a post-game discussion with the one and only Doublelift, fresh off a sweep and a pentakill.
Gentlemen, great cast on the day here with Doublelift after that pentakill. What did that mean to you to get that pentakill in that game?
I got a lot of pentas in my career, so it just felt pretty good. When I got the quad, I was like, gimme, 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 and my teammates were like, I could get it myself, but Soren set me up, so I love my team, and actually in the heat of the moment, I didn't even realize that I killed them all. I just know I flashed into 5 people, which usually I just die and I look really dumb, so yeah, it felt pretty good.
Oh, man. And so you were talking about how you were just so hyped up about that, and so you, at the beginning of the day, we ran a little clip of you saying that, Immortals think about us. We don't really think about them at all. But where do you see Immortals as your rivals? Because that seemed to mean a lot to you to actually take them down once again.
Well, yeah, Immortals is obviously like clear-cut second best team in NA. I mean, they give us the hardest time, and just playing against them, it might have been like maybe sometimes seems one-sided or whatever. Sometimes seemed like we're just rolling over them in team fights, but it's so hard to make calls against them, to just give the correct information and to execute. We have to play mechanically perfectly, and we have to have the best game strats. So it's really hard. In the middle of the game, it's so stressful. Even when we had a huge lead, I felt a lot of pressure from Immortals. And yeah, I mean, they just play their signature, very aggressive style. And I think that last game, their bottom lane was pretty much the biggest reason why they were not able to come back. Because if you're playing Ashe Sona, which is a really big lane dominant lane, then you should not be down 100 CS. So yeah, I think we got pretty lucky in that way.
And so you're talking about pressure, and I want to actually reflect on the previous spring split and compare it and contrast it to this split. You finished last split in 6th during the regular season. Now you guys had first place since day 1, week 1. and you've held on to it the entire time. You actually just locked in first place for the spring split, or the summer split here. Is it harder to go through that trial and tribulation of being 6th place and then having to fight your way up? Or is it harder to lead the pack and struggle to find improvement?
Oh, dude, last split was definitely harder. I mean, we didn't really think anything was working, and like it really sucks when you're coming in as the lowest seed because you have like that super difficult journey all the way. I'm gonna say like both are really hard, but when you're just getting beaten down week by week and you're throwing like 10K gold leads like on a weekly basis, it feels so bad. It's really demoralizing. And at the time, I was questioning like, wow, am I really like an elite player? Are we really an elite team? This is like the TSM that has been in every single North American finals, and like we're 6th place in the regular season. It feels so bad. I feel like more at home here, I guess. And like, I don't know, we're playing like an elite team, and I think we can compete at the world level right now.
How far does this TSM go? If you guys compete at the world level, where is the ceiling for this TSM team?
I mean, the whole the whole goal of TSM, I mean, Reginald was always telling me, even when he signed me, that the goal of TSM is to win Worlds. So that's always been our #1 priority and our dream since the very beginning, you know? When I first started being a pro 6 years ago, that's what I wanted to do, is win Worlds. So I think we're on our way.
All right, congratulations on that win. Once again, double lift. Now we're going to throw it over to the other side of the rift to get an interview with Immortals Pobelter.
Thank you very much.